So there's an age-old tradition of Americans stealing British TV and making it their own. They did it with The In-Betweeners, they did it with recently Ghosts, and they're all terrible. They're all usually pretty bad.
I remember a failed Misfits pilot that never was.
Yes. They also stole Kath and Kim from Australia.
Going to bring that up.
Which was also shit.
Did you see the IT crowd where Moss is just Moss?
But they had a bright start. They did one right. But now it was our turn.
About 10 years late. If this was 2014, I'd be pretty hyped maybe.
But also, our humour's always been pretty bad. A lot of our humour on TV is shit.
I am an Australian citizen, but I'm also an Englishman.
Shocking.
I've been living here for 12 years and I've never sat down in front of the telly and watched a Australian, like, terrestrial, oh, yeah, it's this. If it's not the Aussie Open, I'm not tuning into fucking 9, basically.
Yeah, they're very few and far between. Channel 9's, so one of our major channels is pretty big on it. They just put out crap that's like, we have Underbelly, which is like, we made a crime drama.
Yeah.
We are huge on crime dramas that are like low budget and pretty not good.
We have to have so many hours a day on the main channels, and as long as it's an Australian-made production, it counts as it, which is why we get a lot of your guilty pleasure, like The Block. We get a lot of those
reality
TV shows.
Married at First Sight. Basically, Screen Queensland and Screen Victoria and all that, they have to give a certain amount of budget to an Australian-made production every year. So that's why if you come forward and you say, hey, I want to make The Office, but it's post-COVID, someone's like, make it. It's easy to get shit made over here.
This isn't the good news. This is the bad news that I forgot to tell you earlier.
We finally get our Australian Office, which has always been rumoured. I remember Kath and Kim, the friend off that, I forget the actress's name.
Magda Szubanski.
I remember she was rumoured at one point to be the boss. He probably wouldn't work now because he's kind of cancelled, but Chris Lilly, I mean,
right.
As a teacher, and even though it is a bit off colour, Summer High Tie is a ridiculously accurate representation of Australian school.
Yeah.
It's still like that.
And I think it even made, I think Chris Lilly has even gotten a little bit big overseas because of
that.
Yeah.
I remember that back in England when that was on. It made an impact.
Well, people are racist to us. So we could be racist to Rangers.
The impact of the original UK Office cannot be overstated
in
terms
season.
of the 2 seasons.
2 seasons.
And a special. And the original series ends with David Brent being fired because he's not good at his job and begging for his job. And it was, you know, iconic, it's miserable, it's cringy as hell. But obviously, it ended kind of perfectly. They put a button on it. And at the time when they could have made a killing and ran this thing into the ground for 8-9 seasons, like the other guys. So they got to have their cake and eat it, because then they allowed it to be internationally made. And the American Office came along and did just that. It sitcommed the shit out of it.
Well, there's an interview with John Krasinski that says, in his audition for The Office.
And I said, no, because you either get these things or you don't. What I'm really nervous for is whoever's making the show, because they're just going to screw it up. They screw up all good British shows. And he said, I'm the executive producer.
And then he got it, because, again, that's the kind of pessimistic thing that they probably saw and they were like, ooh, that might help.
See, that Jim honesty. Yeah. I love the American Office. I've watched it more than the UK one, despite it being longer. Embarrassingly, me and my wife have watched it twice this year.
Twice this year? Jesus. Comfort food.
So we essentially have, even though there's been like an Indian version, there's been a French version, there's been fairly failed like 1 or 2 season versions of these shows that have come and gone. So for us to come and have a go at it so late in the game, when we've kind of moved on, we've experimented with the formula.
It was made because of the hook post-COVID. Like, what if everyone has to go back to the office after COVID?
But then I was there looking at it going, imagine if we did the office, but everyone was working from home, and then occasionally we go in, and I don't know, it'd be kind of
It'd be hard to shoot and hard to give across. But there's definitely a premise there. Like, I can see why they at least pursued it. And the whole idea of the boss is the one that wants everyone in the office.
Which is true to Michael and David Brent.
Yes.
Want everyone in the office because they've told themselves that they're the head of the table, that everyone loves them. So it's true to the boss archetype of the office.
Yeah.
We've only watched the first episode.
Yes.
And we were both quite surprised because we assumed it would be weekly drops. But I guess they're going to just watch the first 20 minutes and go, I'm not going to tune in next week. But if it's there and it's going, oh, you want to kick to the next one? Yeah, I'll do the next one.
I think that's because it's bad as well, though. I think Amazon knew. From the very first minute this show starts, you can tell that it's not going to live up to it. Because, like, the US office has like a banger opening intro. Like the song actually is catchy even from the first time you hear it.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, I was just like, oh, like that's all you could come up with.
Fun fact, John Krasinski shot that. He was just driving around and thought it'd be cool to show bits of Scranton. And they went, fuck it, we'll just throw that in
Well,
the
it
intro.
works really well.
You know.
Whereas in this, they show random bits of Sydney, and it's just like, cool.
And the fact that it's Sydney. So I was there in my head, I was going, oh, well, we had Slough, then we had Scranton. If you want to be true to it needs to be in this, like, no one's fucking coming here for any reason.
Yeah.
So the fact you're doing a documentary, and now we've upgraded from it's not paper, it's packaging.
Yes, we're a packaging company. We're introduced to, oh God, I forgot a name already.
Oh, I don't even know the boss's name. I honestly couldn't tell you what the boss's name is.
I don't know. The boss is immediately insufferable.
Well, is that the...
It's meant to be okay, so Michael Scott is like cringe, but they always have like, even in the first episode, they managed to show a bunch of like downtime with him where he takes his job seriously and he thinks that he knows he went a bit too goofy, so he dials it back completely. Whereas this chick is always on 11, and that's just Australian shitty comedy. We're not good at scripted comedy.
Yeah, it's odd because they know most people coming into this are not going to be happy, and are coming in with a lot of already conceived expectations.
See, I don't think they do, because the Australian creative mindset of wankers in Sydney, they don't think about what other people want. They just think
You're really
about what...
going in on wankers in Sydney.
I fucking hate wankers in Sydney.
I don't know this.
Like,
I've been to Sydney once and it was fine.
Sydney's a shithole. What are you talking about? Like, what they think is funny, like there was a Japanese comedy, Last One Laughing, where you put a bunch of comedians in a house, and then if you laugh, you lose, you have to leave. Last one there wins a bunch of money. The Australian one immediately turned into people shitting their pants, like on camera, and like throwing feces at each other. Like,
but don't we have like
shit? We have some good comedians, and one of our best shows was like Thank God You're Here, where you put people in funny situations, and that's really fun. But Australia is way too big on cringe comedy. Like, our Taskmaster barely works. It's kind of held together by like the Taskmaster's assistant, to be honest. It's got basically the same setup as the American one / British one, but they've changed it to being post-COVID. So instead of them needing to be downsizing due to like them not making enough money.
I liked it. I liked that plot.
I like the premise, because it always feels like when everyone had to go back to work after COVID, because COVID proved that working from home worked so well, the two options kind of were your boss needs to justify their job, or they need to justify the rent on the property. And that's kind of what they've done. So they have to justify the rent. And because the boss wants to be the boss and live with her family,
doesn't like living alone,
we're immediately introduced to that she's a sad person.
It's kind of buried with Steve a little bit, with Michael. Yes. They develop it over time that this guy relies on his office.
Yeah, it's like these are the people that are forced to be with him so that he can make jokes and feel like he's funny. Yeah. Because they almost feel like they have to laugh because they're his boss. Like the interaction with him over Jim's shoulder with the WhatsApp. Like, it's dated. They all do it. Like, they're all laughing along with him because they think it's funny, and because it's like the awkward office politics. Whereas with this, she's just immediately making like really bad jokes that no one else is humored by.
I want to suck your blood.
Please don't jim the camera like that. Please don't jim the camera like that.
And I think that's the problem here. It's not like, it doesn't feel like an office because no one's trying to get along. It's like everyone immediately doesn't like each other.
Well, David Brent is playing up to the camera. Michael Scott is playing up to the camera as well. Like, they both, it's this, if these people who think it's their big break, one of my favourite things in The Office, in the UK one, is that David's actually all right at the guitar. They're in like a work, health and safety, whatever the fuck meeting. And David just can't cope with the fact that it's not about him for more than like 20 minutes. So he manages to jerry-rig in the fact that he can play the guitar, and you're expecting him to be shit.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he gets the guitar and he's actually pretty all right, and it makes it even funnier. And with this, there's like one moment where it feels like she's trying to play up and look good to the camera, and that's when the Dwight.
Don't get a hemorrhoid. Don't get a hemorrhoid. All right,
when Dwight goes, "Yes, sir," and she goes, "I wish you wouldn't do that." She, her. Like.
She, her. You know?
And that's that little attempt of, hey, I'm trying to look good, which is the whole point of the boss character, is they're trying to look morally great, but in trying to look morally great, they actually reveal they're not.
We have to be woke but they also like to say, isn't being woke funny? Haha.
The setups are slightly different. It's okay that the Dwight archetype, and this one to me feels more influenced by the American one anyway, already in this one episode.
This one's unbearable.
But I mean, the whole show feels more in line with the American Office than the UK one, in my opinion, which is part of the problem, that they haven't found that Aussiness yet.
Yes.
Which is weird because they've seen all these other versions learn or fail to learn that lesson. So you think they'd go in knowing what they need to do. This Dwight archetype, the Dwight is the office assistant, it is the receptionist, and that makes sense.
She's also turned up to 11 constantly.
Yeah.
No, you see, I feel like one of the interesting things about the Dwight and Jim dynamic is that they're technically in competition for like top salesman. Like Dwight constantly needs to be top salesman, but Jim's actually just good at it. Whereas I think what they wanted to do here was, because they want to do the Jim and Pam, like we still have a definite Jim and Pam that we'll get into.
But they're both salesmen.
But they're both salesmen, which I think might be a power dynamic thing, where they decided they didn't want him to like be higher stature.
Yeah, or maybe they didn't want the woman to be the receptionist, so they made another woman.
She's in Rings of Power, season 1 and season 2, because she looks funny. But she's constantly turned up to 11. She's not good at her job. The immediate thing we see her do is interrupt everyone else in the office, whereas when it's Jim and Dwight, what's happening is Dwight doesn't want his stuff on his desk, which is like, I guess fair enough, that's his desk. Like, you can't just encroach on other people's spaces, which is something that happens in a workplace. Whereas in a workplace, you don't have someone like playing sounds really loudly on their computer without headphones.
It's also the American version, like what Ricky and Steve spoke about, had to get bigger and bigger with the pranks. So the pranking in the UK version is like, I've put your stapler in jelly.
Yes.
Like, and that's like the level the UK one stays at.
Which again is great because you can't, like, what are you going to reprimand them for that? And like Michael Scott makes fun of that. He's like,
because he wants to be in with the cool guy.
Yeah,
and
he's like, and it is undeniably funny that like
you'd go to that ridiculous effort to do something so silly.
Yes, whereas with this, it's playing loud noises or removing their chairs.
It does feel like they went, oh yeah, it's The Office. Everyone knows what The Office is. Yes. So then they're already going, and begin.
And begin at season 7.
Yeah, it's like what I say when Zack Snyder failed to make us love his version of Superman, his version of Batman. It just went, hey, Superman and Batman fight, because wouldn't that be wild? It's like, yeah, well, I don't know these versions
that one time.
where when you compare it to the same year when you had Iron Man and Captain America, it's like, oh, these versions of Iron Man and Captain America who we've had films with by this point, it's a bit more impactful. And obviously, I'm equating billion-dollar franchises to rinky-dink Australian Office, but
she takes everybody's chairs because she gets put in charge of productivity because the boss has said that they can make a year's worth of rent in 1 month, which kind of gives it like an interesting season arc, I guess.
Well, it's the equivalent of, we're going to downsize, you need to...
Yes, you need to pick up productivity. The reason that this guy is going to do well is because he wants the office to stay open so that he can see his not girlfriend Pam. Greta, yes.
And he's called Nick.
Nick and Greta, yes. And they are co-workers and immediately in love.
Well, the reveal of the American and UK one is one assumes they're already going out. Like that's kind of the twist reveal of that first episode is you're like, oh, these two, they're either flirty or they are going out, and then the boyfriend turns up.
Yes.
And
that's a big dramatic, whoa, that's a good ending.
Yeah, that's it. It's that they're having a fun time, you're with those two characters, and then he comes in. I'm pretty sure it's the same with the UK one. And it's like, hey, you ready to go? It's like, oh yeah, go. And then you're like, okay. I don't know, It's really hard to do this when you are remaking directly, not just one, but two iconic, important versions of a show.
It was kind of doomed, yeah.
It's doomed, and I feel bad because we're comparing her to...
But we don't have a Hamish Blake. Like, I don't...
Well, but that's what someone said. Like, what Hamish or Andy maybe could have done this.
Yeah.
Or if he was less controversial, Chris Lilly probably has a shitty boss in him. He would have been the
Steve Carrell, easily. And that would have been, like, international draw even. Like, people would have been like, oh, I'll check that out. Yeah. Whereas because The Office UK started it, and people were like, oh, this is a new show. That was fun. And then they made a UK remake, and people were like, oh, I'll check this out because I liked that other show. Whereas with this one, it's too far removed. This one needed its own pull, apart from it's that thing you loved, but shitty also, and Australian.
Yeah, but that's it. It's like, what makes this... Because obviously it's an office, you want it to have some universal appeal The whole point of this is everyone's been in a crap office. Everyone's had a nightmare boss. Essentially, you're telling a joke that everyone's heard twice.
Yeah. I think it even fails in the whole feeling like an office thing, though. You don't really even spend any time seeing how awkward it is that everyone has to come back to the office for the first time after COVID. So you don't even really get many post-COVID things going on. But you also don't get, like, the boredom in the office. Whereas, like, the US episode 1, like, after that what's up joke, they just kind of all just stand there and then go like, huh.
Yeah, there's
like,
a boredom element to it.
It's like 10 seconds of just awkward standing. And then they'll just cut to 2 other people just gossiping. Like, they'll just do stuff. Whereas this felt very go, go, go.
It's not the show's fault. But I'm going, hey, it's the Jim. It's the Dwight. It's the Pam.
The Kiwi guy with the afro. He plays Toby.
He plays the Toby.
But he's not Toby in any kind of way. He's more of a foil to the boss.
And it feels like the other guy with the sardines, he's the IT guy who's not good at IT. He feels like he's the Creed.
He's half Creed, half Kevin. Like he's meant to be pathetic.
Yeah, and then you've got
she's the smoker, Meredith.
She's the Meredith equivalent.
Yes,
and
she's trashy, smoky, and has kids.
This bit's the only bit I laughed at was the echoing of the mics. Like that, I actually kind of went, maybe it's because I was beaten down. I went,
that made my wife laugh.
Can everyone please mute themselves?
What made me go was the Meredith might self-harm if she's left at home with her kids, and then she's like, I might actually. I was like, huh.
And then it cuts to her having a smoker outside.
Yes.
I was like, that's all right.
And we've got a Ryan stand-in.
Yeah.
That is just, he's not an intern. Well, he is an intern, but he's not from a temp agency. He's from a business college.
From something
so he's still
else.
not getting paid, I guess.
Is it a rule that we have to have the same archetypes?
What annoys me, though, is we don't have the same archetypes. Like, they have these people playing these positions, but they don't carry over any of the personality or, like, their usefulness to the story. Like, it's just, that is who that should be, but they're not that. Like, I think the one interesting thing might be Josh Thomas. He's the only actor in this I actually know. I know him from Taskmaster New Zealand. He's kind of funny. And in this, they seem to be playing him more as a foil.
The straight man.
Yeah, the foil to Steve Carell. Whereas, like, as if Toby was actually good at his job almost. Which I guess is something, like, they're trying something different.
Obviously, we've watched 20 minutes of this thing.
Yes, we'll do a whole season.
Yeah, and maybe these 8 episodes, all we're going to get, and it's just going to be that weird experiment that we had. Who knows? Or maybe who knows, episode 2, 3, and all the rest of them smash it, and we're fucking thrilled. But the show's got an uphill battle because we already know where this is going. So you're either going to subvert the expectations that Nick and Greta don't get together, or I don't know, that I don't have like gender dynamics in it because I don't think gender discussion's so boring. Is it a fair conversation to have a dynamic change where you've got Jim being Jim? I'm just going to say it.
But not
Nick
charming?
is just but Nick is just Jim.
Yes.
And then you've got Dwight, who's a woman. So then now you're going to have a rivalry between a really tall, it just, to me, instead of it being 2 brothers dicking around before dad notices, it's now, I don't know, I hate that. Should it be important that, I don't know, will people view it differently? Will I view it differently because it is a man and a woman having this tit-for-tat joke shit?
Yeah, it depends on how they handle it in the following episodes. But speaking of not charming version of Jim, he's not charming. In fairness, he's only had 20 minutes, but I feel like Jim in the US, he has more time to immediately show that he's kind. The way he flirts with Pam is actually flirty, but like genuine. Like he knows that her favorite chocolate is a thing.
And I don't know what the audition process was, but in that version, they went through a pretty rigorous, like, we want to make sure we've got
chemistry test.
Yeah, they did a lot of that.
Yeah.
I think they cast John first and then found Pam, but I'm unsure. Once again, you're comparing him to John Krasinski, who's a fucking charm factory.
Yes.
Like, he's just a charming man.
Another uphill battle for the poor guy.
Oh, yeah. And also fucking Bilbo himself, Martin Freeman. Like, so there you're going, I'm being compared to one of the most notable British actors. And, you know,
a guy that built his entire career on being able to smile nicely.
He's a fantastic director.
Yeah. Well, when he's stealing stuff.
Fuck off. Quiet Place is good. I haven't watched If.
Trash, apparently. He's less charming for sure, but then also they've put him in a weird position where he says, oh, there's some good things about coming into work. I guess I can stay at the office. Cut directly to
She's
Greta.
the same.
And then, she just outright says, oh, I love flirting at work. But everyone flirts at work, and it doesn't feel innocent.
Flirting? Who doesn't flirt at work?
I think it's the first time At least of the two versions I've watched where the boyfriend isn't in the warehouse. I think he works somewhere else.
Right. Which again makes it less, it's less tight because like you go downstairs, he's there. He comes upstairs, he's there. Like instead of just like he gets off work and
how
comes.
far are we going with this? Where is it going to be that Greta is secretly an artist and
loves to do watercolors?
Because both of them are the same. Like in both versions, they want to be artists, which is the point of being the receptionist. Is that you're in this lower job, but then. I actually do think it changes the dynamic comedically for the worst, because then you've got the straight receptionist in the office with the boss being, you know, like...
Yes.
Pam will be like just the dead face to Michael's shit jokes.
That's part of her thing, is like she doesn't really even want to be there apart from the fact it's easier, and it's like it's a fallback almost.
And I think it's maybe like the boyfriend got her the job. Like it's this whole...
Whereas with this one, she's a saleswoman. Like she, even in the first episode with Pam, they give us more than that. Like she's a receptionist, but she wants more, and it takes like 3 seconds for her to be like, "I like art," and they're like, "Oh, cool."
And this forgets the point of the meta narrative of why a documentary crew is here.
Yes.
They want to film these people. They want to get the slice of life. This doesn't feel like there's that moment of, so what's it like working in a fucking packaging company?
Yeah.
Like, and it forgets the meta narrative of it.
Yeah, it just felt too go.
I do feel bad comparing it, but then at the same time, they know everyone's going to do this. So you need to come out the gates. I know it's really hard. You need to come out the gates and fucking...
Like, where do you go from here? Because they've kind of just swapped the genders, swapped a couple of roles, but they're doing identical storyline and like personalities as far as like the lead cast goes. So it's like the story engine is identical. So are we going to end up with exactly the same stories?
And then with her, the actress playing the boss, I want to see what we're seeing here. Like what's this version going to look like? And it might take a while. I get it. It may be over these 8 episodes, but
again, US season 1 did it in 1 episode.
David he's spot on straight away. Ricky, he knows how to be.
Does he have quiet moments, like where he takes her back? Because like I said with Steve Carell, he'll be making jokes. Like he throws out the facts, and then Pam's like straight-faced, like he's the crazy one, whereas Pam and Jan are both in the room with him and he's still trying to act a little bit of a fool because there's a camera in there. But then Pam just goes, "Oh, you threw out that facts," and he's like, "Oh, sorry, that was a joke my brother made. It doesn't really work as well." Like you could see him kind of like closing in because he's just an awkward guy. Like whereas you get nothing. You don't get that here. She's always just making jokes.
And David's a wannabe musician. Michael's a wannabe comedian. With this woman, we're not sure on that factoid if they're going to give her that.
She's just lonely. She doesn't want people to
we've been
leave
given the
her.
lonely factoid, which basically in the 20 minutes, I didn't think there was much there in terms of like undercurrent of humour. Like the opening of the first off of the American office is like, Jim, you've come to the master, and he goes, well, you called this meeting.
Yeah.
Like there's already something there.
It's not a laugh a minute, the first episode of the US Office.
But famously, it's the example of like, oh, they cancelled that. And this is the office now where we're reintroducing it in such a different time period, where the UK office was on BBC, so no ad breaks or channel, whatever it was. And then the American one, it's 2005, so it's very much of that era. They adapt to the housing crisis of 2008. They talk about how the company's closing down because of the recession. So it's all there.
Whereas this show already feels 3 years late because people have been back at work from COVID for 3 years now. But it's also going to date this show pretty hard. I feel like most people have already deleted COVID from their brains.
They don't say COVID, they just say returning from working from home, and we know that happened because of COVID.
Which, wouldn't that be weird if you try to watch this in 5 years? That's why that's the only interesting thing, story-wise, that was like, oh, these people are being forced back into the office.
Yeah, and why? I think sadly we all knew this was going to be bad.
Yeah.
We just need to know. We just need to know how bad it can go.
And we will find out.
We will find out. And I am going to keep watching it because I want it to be good. I want Australian programming. I think it's disappointing that this is what we've came out with. I know it's a named brand thing. People will tune in, yada, yada, yada. But I'd rather have the money, instead of it being on the Aussie office, which not even Australians want. Like it's sadly to really been there, done that concept of a show now.
Yeah.
Everyone has took this concept and ran with it, and they've twisted it. They're playing on the expectations. So to have a show just come along and play it straight, it's like in terms of TV sitcoms, it's like remaking Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's extremely difficult. So I don't envy their task, but I also think they're stupid for even attempting. Yeah. They're even stupid for attempting it. Like,
I have
honestly,
no pity for them.
It's, you know, and fuck you. I don't know. Like, is that the summary like of this? Is that you made me laugh twice, and that was only because you caught me off guard?
I was going to say, also laugh is a bit of an exaggeration.
You made me go,
yeah.
Like, okay, that's funny. The one thing we agreed on was that it's shot and lit well, which is good for Australian TV.
It looks nice, I guess.
It turns out that if you shoot in just one fucking location, you can keep the lighting consistent.
Yeah. I wonder if this was actually shot with multiple cameras or whether it was single camera and just like all staged.
Considering that there probably are a lot of office spaces that are empty right now, it probably wasn't that hard to just get one.
But they've made it look like The Office too. It's like they're definitely...
That's it. It's all that, I mean, as you in the thumbnail, they've directly went for the image of sitting by the window, and that's what I wanted to bring up. It was my little thing was in the UK one and the American one, even though it's not perfect, but it got to be perfect, and you guys can see that. Having them like straight on down the barrel looking at me, the foreground background is the background's too far from where they're sitting. Yeah. It's like frame it round the window.
That's because the office they chose was too big. Like they could just use a fake window, but
yeah,
it's also just like everyone jims the camera.
Please don't jim the camera like that.
Jim the camera?
Like everyone will make a joke and look at someone in the audience will look at the camera and go,
yeah.
Everyone is too aware of the cameras. It's kind of like in the US one and the UK one, they like avoid it because like no one wants to be the one to look down the camera in a documentary. Like that feels weird. Whereas in this, they're all playing to the camera, so it feels more like a show.
And they do the meeting, which is like, I'm not sure I forget if the UK one has David wanting to do meetings, but I don't think it's that much of a thing. Where in the American one, Michael doing Office sees it as his chance to do a comedy hour. Yeah. Like it's just his excuse for everyone to definitely pay attention to him.
Yes.
So with this, they do that there, but it's like, is she doing that because she thinks she's funny or because you think, oh, the boss always wants to do silly jokes?
It's not rooted in her character. It's what she has to do. It's what The Office does.
This is the problem. Everyone knows this joke really well.
Yeah.
It's the Friends for millennials.
She's doing some kind of stand-up act. She needs a microphone for 3 people.
The mic went bad. Yeah, everyone went, oh.
Oh, and he's the IT guy, but he's bad at IT.
You know you're going to have the dickheads go, women can't be funny.
Unfortunately.
I'm just annoyed that it's, if this is the pull, it's that it's a woman this time.
I think the pull is it's Australian.
It's Australian, but then make it feel like I want Australia Day, Office Day. I want the shit that makes it Australian.
Yeah.
Like, and you have those discussions of, oh, Australia Day.
Well, that was probably why Chris Lilly's stuff played so well overseas, because it was so vulgar. Like, it was bad.
Yeah, well, what is the Aussie experience in the office?
Yeah.
So, like, you know, all the things that make our Aussie Day, like with me, I'm hearing welcome to country. Like if you put that stuff in, or you have you have Australia Day, or I fucking take it her challenging the fucking warehouse guys to a game of fucking handball at this point. Is it
because Australia has no culture? Because we're just such a hodgepodge of everywhere else?
We do. It's just our culture's really minutiae. It's
like we have Melbourne Cup, but America has Kentucky Derby. Like they've got horse races.
Look, we're a younger country, and you know, you're welcome. Sorry, and but there's shit that we do that is Australian, that we fucking have that humour, I guess. But I'm not sure if it suits the office dynamic, the like this office setup. And so I'm always defending of remakes or reinterpretations, but this one I really can't. I can't do it. It would have made sense 20 years ago, back in the day when you had to wait for American programming, so they just went, fuck it, we'll just make our own, and that makes sense. But now that everyone just can right now on Prime click to the other one,
you might as well.
You might as well.
So in conclusion, don't watch this. We'll do it for you.
We'll do it for you. We'll report back. Right now, it's at a 2 out of 10. Put it on while you're asleep if you need noise levels.
It's too noisy though. Like because she was like shouting.
Yeah, the humor, everything's just off.
It's not a relaxed show.
If the humor's wrong, and then if the plot points are just going to be the same plot points I've seen twice now with different accents, then I don't want to see those plot points again. Dwight is different to
Glass Eye guy from
the Glass Eye like Ivan Pirates. Both Dwight think they're really awesome. They think they're badasses.
Yes.
And they say, I'm into karate, or I know all this. Dwight eventually ends up becoming a badass. Like, I run a farm. I'm actually quite a good, productive person, where the Chesney character isn't, and he's lame.
But even episode 1, Dwight's good at his job still. Like, everyone is annoyed by him, but he's still, like, top salesman.
Yeah, so how good would it be if this one was, she's a good office manager / receptionist.
Best receptionist in the world.
It's a receptionist too.
Yeah, they've held her back immediately.
They've held it back, and you want to be close to power. So I don't know. Like, I don't know why that person has to be a receptionist, other than it's just they thought, but then they get to talk to the boss more. There's more of a unilateral... I could rant on because it's so confusing.
I've only seen clips of episode 2, but it looks like they're doing the IT crowd thing of someone dies in the office and no one knows who it actually was. They're like, oh, Brian died. And he's like, who was Brian? And he was like, he was this guy. And they're like, wasn't he this guy? And he's like, oh, yeah, that's what I meant, that guy. And the IT crowd did that. Well, we'll watch the whole thing and...
we'll report back.
If we don't end it all before the end of the season, we'll come back and tell you.
Could do, yeah.